Hi everyone. Today I'm gonna do a review of a book that I read for a little bit more like a weekend, like a long weekend. So I had a little bit extra time to read it, and yeah, I read like many chapters a day because this was a pretty quick read and still very interesting read. Like I I read this book classic Bambi. That's right. This is the original Bambi by Felix Salten. It's illustrated by Richard Caldry and has a beautiful new cover. So absolutely amazing. So a new generation can experience this classic. So yes, and it has forewords and not too long of chapters. The chapters are like maximum like 12 pages and minimum are like 7 pages. So it actually is not too hard to read, and it has very beautiful illustrations, and they are like 260 pages. So it isn't too hard to read. I definitely feel like there are 25 chapters, I remember also. So I definitely feel like if you read one chapter, then you can finish reading in a month. But at the same time, if you're reading more than a chapter in a day, I think you can finish reading in like a week or so. Definitely, I think depends how used to read you are, but I definitely think that's doable. But yeah, this was very interesting to read because, of course, I have seen the animated Disney classics many times. That movie, I love that. Such a sweet film and a sad film, of course. And so it was very interesting to read the original here and see similarities and differences. And while there are some similarities, there are definitely a lot of differences. Some of the similarities is that the atmosphere is still there. This is beautifully describes the nature and forest. You definitely feel like you are there with the animals. Love that. However, a big difference here is that there is a little bit more of a hard undertone here and more harsh, and it is more about it's more about the structure of nature and how you know how all animals do to survive, and a little bit how the human do to survive. So it isn't really that much like story driven as the Disney movie is. It doesn't really have that innocence of the animals and being directly only towards that the characters there like this in the movie. It is a little bit more like what why Bambi is the main character and we do follow her. It is definitely told in a way that is a little bit more like speaking to um I, w- I would say humans. I would say maybe hunters. Like the forward here say the forward by John Cowsley says that he said here on March 16, 1928. That he says that he says here on the very last line he says, "I particularly recommend it to sportsmen," and I would agree on that. Definitely feel like this book is a little bit more straightforward with how it tells how nature works. So yeah, it definitely is a pretty mature book, and but at the same time, I do feel like at least teenagers can read it, and maybe someone who is slightly younger. Like if you're a brave little older child, I actually think you can read it because while it was a bit of violence, it wasn't as violent as I thought it would be. I thought it was going to be violence on every single line, every single page, but it wasn't. It was a little bit more here and there. But when the violence comes, it can be a little bit traumatizing. See if you aren't used to it. So I would definitely say like make sure that you know what you can handle before you read it. And yeah, so more of the differences here is definitely the characters. There is no thumper here, no flower. But there is a lot of other range of animals that Bambi knows, like a squirrel, for example. And instead of thumper, there's someone called Mr. Hare, and there is an owl here. But it feel like I remember it was both like here it is like both a female and a male owl, and yeah, and he mainly hangs out. Bambi he mainly hangs out with other deers, and it's not just and other deers and fawns. And it's not just Feline. It is more characters there too. It is a fawn called Gobo, and there is one called Rono. And Rono you probably know if you have seen Bambi too. So it's interesting if you have seen that movie too. Like they took some, even there they have taken some inspiration from this book. So that's pretty cool. So yes, so it is a very interesting book here, and yeah, to read and compare and to feel how it's made up. Yeah, and another thing here is that they talk a lot more about the human here than what they do in the Disney movie. They refer to him as he. So yeah, they talk a lot more about it. I don't want to go too much more into that, but there's a lot more talk about that, I would say. And I also would say that the climax here in this book is totally different. There's no big fire or stuff like that. Like there is a totally different climax, and that one is pretty traumatizing. But and without saying too much, but it kind of connects again to what the structure of the book and how nature works and stuff like that. So while it was a bit scary, I did like it. And of course, and I don't think this is a big spoiler, and it even says here on the back here that Bambi's mother dies, but they don't really go on about it quite the same way as they did in the Disney movie, and maybe not even as they do in the first movie Bambi, and not even really like the way they do it in Bambi too. Like again, it is a pretty straightforward book, so if you're looking for stuff that are a little bit more character driven, you may not really find it here. But it is a great book with great characters, and it does have a bit of humor to it because some of the animals has a little bit of attitude and say some funny things that might give you a little bit of shock, but while at the same time it is a little bit of a the harsh undertone, and it's understandable. This is an old book from like the early 90s. It looks like the earliest copyright here is 1926, so it is, of course, a very old book, and I don't even know if it's English here actually is the original language. I think it is German, actually, Bambi. So it is a very old. So yeah, it is a very old book, and it is. And of course, the Disney movie is very old. This was one of the first Disney movies. I think it was like the fifth classic. So it's understandable, like the generation there that books and movies could be, even stuff that are kind of aimed for kids, could be a little bit harsh sometimes. But yeah, but so again, there is a little bit more harshness and a little less of cuteness, while they at the same time can appear cute a little bit here and there. So at least I think the illustrations are cute, but and there aren't illustrations on every chapter, so there is a little bit here and there at least. But that also makes it a pretty quick read. So but but yeah, I definitely feel like if you are a fan of the Disney movie, while at the same time can take a little bit of changes and a little bit of horses, I think this is a great book for you. And if you love forest and the nature and forest animals, I definitely think like this is a very nice book to read. I had a great experience reading it, and some of the dog stuff shocked me a little bit, but not too much. Actually didn't traumatize me as much as I thought it would, so I'm kind of glad for that. It looks good. This book looks very good on your shelf, and it is like a, probably notice it is like a kind of paperback cover, the edition that I have, but I have read it kind of carefully, and it still looks very good. So yeah, I definitely feel like you can have it on display if you want. It is beautiful. So yeah, like if you're interested to, if you're even slightly interested in reading the original book Bambi, I would say pick it up. It is actually very good and very beautiful written, and it is a great experience. Like if you are used to the Disney movie, and even of course there is aware of both, there is both, even there are some sweetness and some darkness, like if you are aware of both those things, I think you will have a great experience reading this book. So yeah, highly recommend it to you guys. So there we go. Hope you liked my review of Bambi, and don't forget to like and subscribe and leave us an awesome comment on Instagram. Bye everyone.